And Jesus said, if any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. And Peter said, Lord, can we talk? And Peter took Jesus off to one side and said to him, now Lord, I understand where you're coming from with this cross business. Don't get me wrong. I fully appreciate the tension between you and Caiaphas and the high priests in Rome. You've got some legitimate gripes, no question. But they've got some legitimate beefs themselves. Now I think there's a way around this cross business. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Lord, but before I came on board, when I was still running my fishing business, well, some labor disputes arose between the Fishermen's Union and me. Things got pretty tense for a while, and there was even some talk of nailing a few people to the wall. So I took a seminar on conflict management, and it really helped. I mean, we were able to resolve the conflicts. So what I'd like to propose, Lord, is that I arrange a sit-down between you and Caiaphas and Pilate. I'll act as negotiator. I'm confident we can work this thing out and avoid an extreme action on anyone's part. And so I'd like to encourage you, Lord, to just cool the cross talk. Talking about a cross is very inflammatory, you know. And frankly, it sets a bad example for the rest of us. There's really no need for you or anyone else to take up crosses when we've got this far more reasonable way to deal with the matter. So why don't I get all the parties to sit down and work this thing out to everyone's satisfaction? What do you say? But before Jesus could answer, Andrew, Peter's brother, walked up. He had been standing nearby and couldn't help overhear the conversation between Peter and Jesus. And Andrew said, Lord, you know, as much as I hate it, my brother's got a point. However, I think there's another angle to this thing we should consider. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I was in college, as a freshman, I took a course in psychology. So I think I can speak here with some authority. And I must say that this talk of the cross is not very rational behavior. By the way, I spoke to your mother and brothers and sisters, and they agree. As a matter of fact, they'd like for you to come home and just rest up a bit. And consider seeing a counselor, get a little therapy. You see, the problem is that self-denial, well, Lord, it's just not healthy. I think we should be talking about self-assertion, self-realization, taking charge of your life. And another thing, Lord, to be very frank, this business of the cross smacks of a death wish, and that's just not healthy thinking either. We should be helping people avoid any thoughts of denial or sacrifice or death and have, well, you know, more positive thoughts. What do you say? But before Jesus could answer, James, one of Zebedee's sons, overheard Andrew's comment about positive thoughts going to him. And James says, you know, Andrew's got a point. Andrew's got a point. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Lord, but I'm a pretty heavy reader. You know, slow days on the lake when there's no fish to be found. Well, anyway, lately I've gotten into the whole matter of positive thinking. Now, please don't take this wrong, Lord, but the truth is that the cross, well, it's rather negative. And negative thinking won't get you anywhere in this world. All I'm asking is that you just consider it for a minute. Do we really want a negative symbol to be the symbol for our movement? Do we really want people associating losing yourself or forgetting yourself for the sake of someone else, or sacrificing, or even suffering or death with our group? I think we need a more positive symbol, like a plus sign, an addition sign. You know, all we have to do is shorten the vertical bar on the cross, and presto, we got it. We got it. That way we could get into possibility thinking, the power of positive thinking, believing in yourself. What do you say? But before Jesus could answer, John, the brother of James, joined the group. And John said, you know, Lord, you've got to admit, James is onto something there. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but before you called me, I attended seminary for a time. So I know a thing or two about religion. And if I may speak honestly, The problem with religion today is that, well, it's just not upbeat enough. Let's face it, the cross can be a real downer. I mean, if we're not careful, people will even create a 5 or 6 week period of time during the year when they have to think about the cross. Talk about depressing. No, I think our job is to entertain people. Make them feel good. Not get into serious stuff and never offend them. Or make them think about the problems of the world. They get enough of that on the news. So what do you say, Lord? Let's try to lighten things up a bit, huh? But before Jesus could answer, Matthew stepped in. And Matthew said, Lord, hey, let's just cut to the chase here, shall we? Now the fellows have all made good points, but we're still dancing around the real issue. I don't know if you're aware of this, but before I joined the team, I was in marketing. And that's the name of the game, or the bottom line, marketing, public relations. So let me just give it to you straight and unvarnished. From a marketing standpoint, the cross has got to go. It just won't sell. It's lousy public relations. If we want this movement to catch on, got to stay away from talk of self-denial or cross. Now that's loser talk. And do we really want to be seen as a bunch of losers? No. We want to be seen as winners. That's what plays today. So how do we do it? We push the button of self-gratification. I mean, that's where it's at. What we do is sell the idea that following you is a way to have it all. Success, power, personal happiness, money, you name it. You see, we set up franchises all over the world and market them as places where you can come in, get what you need, you know, a little personal salvation or forgiveness or whatever, and then go right back at it. We don't load anyone down with thoughts about responsibility to others or to the group or the community. And here's the best part. No one has to change. Everyone can keep their opinions and attitudes and ambitions and desires. I mean, it's dynamite. We can't miss. Oh, and one other thing, Lord. I've been talking to Judas. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Judas was a financial analyst before you drafted him. And according to Judas, this cross business will absolutely kill us financially. To use his words, it's financial suicide. So, what do you think? Let's bring in some good marketing consultants, hire a good PR firm, and turn this thing around. And Jesus said to his disciples, why don't we forget I ever brought it up, fellas? And Jesus went off to a lonely place by himself to pray for strength to deal with his disciples. And the truth is, maybe like Simon Peter and the others, we look for a way around it. For 2,000 years, the church has looked for a way around it. Look for a way around the cross. Let's be honest. We're big on the cross when it comes to the cross being a symbol of what Jesus did for us, how he gave himself for our sake. But maybe we're not that big on the cross when it comes to the cross being a symbol of what we are to do for Jesus. Or we are to give of ourselves for his sake. That's what we want to get around, perhaps. The cross as a model for the Christian life. A model of sacrificial serving and self-giving. But there's no getting around it. Jesus meant what he said. And one thing Jesus surely meant is that it's not easy. Because before all else, to take up our cross means that we are to pick up the weight of our lives and follow him. Pick up our troubles and hurt and pain and follow him. Serve as he calls us to. And Jesus also meant that it can be very costly. Because to take up the cross is to deny the claim of ourselves as being the ultimate claim upon us. And respond to the claim of God and the claim of others upon us. Even to the point of suffering the loss of what we hold dear in order to serve God and others. It's no wonder that Simon Peter and the other disciples, and maybe we ourselves, want to find another way. But there is no other way. Not if we want to have a self and a life worth having. As someone else has put it, think about it like this. When you love somebody, it's no longer yourself who is at the center of your own universe. It is the one you love who is. You forget yourself. You deny yourself. You give of yourself so that by all the rules of mathematical logic, there should be less of yourself than there was to start with. Only by a curious paradox, there is more. You feel that at last you really are yourself. You give up your old self-seeking self for somebody you love, and thereby, somehow, become your true self at last. That is what Jesus is saying. The only way to become a true self and have true life is to at last love and give of ourselves and serve somebody beyond ourselves. To love and serve God and others. You know, another author has offered a stunning definition of sin. Sin, she says, is the urge to heed your own hurts, pains, passions, and desires, and to let them determine your action completely, without any thought of the claims that other creatures make on your life. When the only claims upon us, the sole determinant of our action, are our hurts and angers and pains and desires and needs, we become like the sun, with everybody else orbiting around us. We create a gravitational pull with our angers and hurts and needs, and shine bright, while everyone else must be satisfied with reflecting our light. We end up at the center of our own little universe. What Jesus is saying is to live like that is not to have a true self at all. No true life at all. We must recognize God's claim and the claim of others on us and move beyond our anger or hurt or self-serving desires and respond to God and to others. Even bear the weight of the hurts and pains of others. To do that, Jesus says, is to be fully alive and to be fully the selves God calls us to be. There's no other way. Sooner or later, we must deny ourselves, take up the cross, and follow. We must leave behind the old self and love, give of ourselves, serve. Because it's the only way that does lead to life, hope, even joy for us and this world. Amen.